Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. I've been away from BookTube for a little while for a few reasons. And today I thought I'd do a quick and easy tag to sort of ease back into it. But before I get to the tag, I'm going to give a brief personal update and a slight politics mention. So if those things aren't your cup of tea, there will be a timestamp down below, so feel free to skip right ahead to the tag. But otherwise, so the reasons that I've been away from BookTube, we've had a whole bunch of life change. So first, I interviewed for my dream job in another state, which involved travel during COVID and a whole day of interviewing, and it's very stressful for a somewhat introverted person like myself. And then 3 days after that, my dad died, which of course is very sad. He had been sick for 2 years, so it was sort of expected. But then the immediate end was unexpected in a way that was actually really nice because it was very peaceful, and we think he doesn't even know that it was happening when it happened, which is a great way to go. And then a little after that, I realized, or I was told, I'd gotten my dream job, which will involve a multi-state move. And my partner started his new dream job, which is quite different from what he'd been doing. Well, in some ways, it's very similar to what he'd been doing before, but he used to have a very flexible academic schedule like me, and he now has a much more strict 9 to 5. So we are trying to figure out how to adjust to that with childcare and whatnot. So it's been a wild ride. I'm still a little nervous about like saying out loud what my dream job is because it's crazy that I actually got it, and even though I've signed paperwork and stuff, I'm still like, what if they take it away? But I will be a professor this fall at a small liberal arts school in Eastern Pennsylvania. So I'm extremely excited about that in the biology department for anyone who doesn't know my field. So yeah, so all of that aside, so it's been an absolutely wild few months, but I feel like I am ready and able to get back into a BookTube schedule, and I'm very excited about that. Before we talk about BookTube stuff, though, I did want to mention one political thing. Obviously, lots of horrible stuff is happening in the world right now. I cannot talk about all of it, but one thing I want to keep bringing to people's attention is the coordinated legislative attack on the rights of trans people in the United States. And it's especially targeting children who are questioning their gender, who might be trans or non binary. And it's absolutely horrible. We have like at any given time right now, we have like 30 states that are considering legislation. Um, so I really want to encourage everyone, if this is an issue that you care about or an issue that you'd like to learn more about, to please go do that. There's a wonderful website run by a volunteer organization called StepUpForTransKids. I will link down below. It's a whole bunch of volunteers, and they keep real-time track of all of the legislation and where it is across the country in all 50 states. And then I also want to say, because I've been talking to a lot of people who live in blue or purple states, and they say, well, these bills are never going to pass, so why would I bother calling people? And that's true. Like in the state that I live in and the state that I'm from, there have been these bills that get presented and then they die in committee. And so people say, well, so why do I have to do anything about it? Because it's just going to die in committee. But like, it's really important that people are even trying in blue and purple states. And it's just part of this coordination. And it sends a message to people in states like Texas, where these things are really impacting people's lives in negative ways. It sends the message that they have more national support than they think they do. So even in a blue state, even if you think your bill is going to be dead on the floor, please still call and just tell your reps and your senators that like we're just not going to allow this. This shouldn't even be part of the conversation. The same thing goes for bills that seem like maybe they don't really matter. So I'm thinking like the locker room bills and things like that. I've heard people say, well, that doesn't seem that discriminatory or something. But it really does matter. I mean, first of all, we're talking about the happiness and health and safety of our kids. So like, yes, it matters. But also those are a foot in the doorway. Like that's how the conversation in Texas started, was with these sports team conversations. And now we have a situation where parents are really worried that their kids are going to be taken away, and kids are terrified that they're going to be taken away. So yeah, it's a foot in the door. So even if it seems like small potatoes, especially in light of what's happening in Ukraine, even if you think you're in a state where it could never happen, please just take action to stop these bills and communicate that they should not even be part of the conversation. This shouldn't be happening. So that's my very opinionated plug. So yeah, Step Up for Trans Kids. I'll link that website down below. Please go check it out and fight against this legislation in your area. Okay, moving to the books, or booktube stuff. So today I'm going to do the All About You tag. I think that's what it's called. All About Me. Sorry, All About Me tag, which is an original tag by Sue Jackson, who blogs about booktube stuff, and she also blogs about chronic illness stuff. And her channel is just an absolutely lovely place. She reads really interesting books, a mixture of fiction and nonfiction. Excuse me. And then she also just has a very calming presence. So her videos are just great to go watch and relax, hear about some books. And then for folks with chronic illness, she does talk about her own journey with chronic illness quite a bit on her channel. And she's even published a book about sort of what worked for her and what didn't work for her in terms of like her routine and lifestyle, learning to live with chronic illness. Okay, so let's get to the tag questions. So number 1 is, where are you from originally? I'm from Maryland. Question number 2 is, where do you live now? So I currently live in central New York. I live near Ithaca, New York. And we are going to be moving to Pennsylvania in August, which is very exciting. So question number 3, what other places have you lived? Most recently, before New York, I lived in Minnesota for 3 years. Before Minnesota, lived in Connecticut for a year. And it's weird because my partner lived there for longer than I did, and I was sort of in and out. And that's where my daughter was born. So yeah, lived in Connecticut for a little while. Before Connecticut, lived in New Jersey for several years for grad school. Before that, lived in Washington, D.C. for a year. Before that, it was college in just outside of Philadelphia, PA. And before that, it was Maryland. And then I also have done a few stints otherwise. So I do like to sort of count my 6 months in Poland for study abroad because it was such a formative experience and I really fell in love with the country. So I usually count that. That was in 2009. And then I also did all of the field work for my PhD thesis in Montana, Western Montana, and sort of the adjacent county in Idaho. And I would spend several months each year out there. So I sort of feel like I've lived there a little bit, although just in the outdoors areas, like I've never really spent time in any of the towns or cities except to get groceries. So maybe that doesn't count. But I certainly feel very at home in the natural geography out there. Question number 4. Do you have any siblings? I do. I have a younger brother. His name is AJ. Number 5, who is in your immediate family now? So my super immediate family is me, my husband, and our daughter. And then I have my mother and my brother. And my husband has his father and his sister. So I sort of count all those people in my immediate family, I guess, to various degrees. Question number 6, do you have any pets? We do not at the moment, but I think I've convinced my husband that when we move to Pennsylvania and get settled in hopefully a house that we can buy, that I can get a cat again, because I grew up with cats. I had a cat after college, who very sadly passed away very suddenly. So yeah, getting a cat is high priority. Question 7, where did you go to school? So, yeah, this is just all available online because I'm easily Googleable. I did my PhD at Rutgers University in New Jersey, and then earlier I had gotten my bachelor's degree at Swarthmore College, which is a small liberal arts school just outside of Philadelphia. That is not the small liberal arts school that I'm going to go be teaching at. They're about an hour apart. Question number 8, if you went to college, what was your major degree? So my major was in biology, which I absolutely love, but then I also did a double minor in environmental studies, and then in peace and conflict studies. And I did an honors degree in my major biology, but I also did an honors degree in my peace and conflict studies minor. So I did a thesis for that, which was really fun and interesting. And I don't think I did a very good job, but they let me graduate. Question number 9, what kinds of jobs have you had previously and now? So my current job is a scientific researcher, and I'm employed through the University of Minnesota. The new job I'm going to have is a professor, so I will be mostly teaching. It's at a primarily teaching school, but I am expecting to maintain a research program that incorporates undergraduate students. to give them experience and teach them how scientific research works. I'm very excited about that. I've been doing the research thing for a long time because I got my PhD almost 4 years ago now. I've been doing full-time research since then. And of course, during your PhD in the sciences, your main emphasis is on research, although I also taught for 10 semesters at Rutgers University, taught undergrads, and that was my paycheck. I was a teaching assistant. And then before grad school, after college, I did a 1-year stint with an environmental consulting firm in Washington, D.C., as a just their entry level analyst position, which was really fun and really interesting and really worthwhile. But I had to sit at a desk all day, every day, and that's just not really my lifestyle. So yeah, so I did that, and then after that, I did a couple basically retail type jobs, and I'd also worked in retail in high school and during summers off from college. So retail, like in a clothing slash outdoor store, and then also selling solar power. So I was actually working in Home Depot, and I would have my own little kiosk that was a foldable thing that I'd carry around in my car, and I'd set up and try to sell solar to homeowners. And I had a couple different Home Depot stores that were my territory. So yeah, I'm not sure what other jobs I've had. I've been a violin teacher, very extraordinarily part-time occasionally, and a babysitter extraordinarily part-time occasionally. I was a park ranger for one summer in college, which sounds really cool, but it was for an urban park just outside of Baltimore. So mostly what I did was pick up trash and yelled at people who were trying to stay in the park too late. And when they then didn't listen to me, I would call the natural resources officers who would come make them leave. So yeah, question number 10, have you traveled outside of your country and where? So way too many places to list. I've been lots of places in Europe. I've been to Botswana and Zimbabwe in Africa. I've been to lots of places in sort of northern South America, well, just Peru and Colombia really, but lots of places within those countries. And I've been to a little bit to Canada, just once or twice. So, question number 11, how many U.S. states have you traveled to? I've traveled to all of them except Hawaii, Alaska, Arkansas, and Maine, I believe, was the last count. Question number 12, what are your favorite places to visit and vacation? Yeah, so that's a good question because I really want to be going to new places as much as possible. But places that I've returned to again and again, England is a place I've returned to, and that's because my mom really loves it as well. And so we've done several trips there. It's just the two of us, or one trip with my grandmother. And so those are really nice, and we do things like visit the great houses and look at gardens, and I don't really have a lot of other people in my life who want to do those particular things, so I really like those kinds of trips with my mom. And I've been to Ireland once, and I want to go back to Ireland with my mom and do that sort of trip as well. Favorite places to visit, I absolutely want to go to Poland again, so I don't know if that really counts as a favorite place to visit, but I haven't been back there since I spent my 6 months there in 2009, and so I really, really, really want to go back. But basically, favorite places to visit, aside from sort of those two examples, are places where I can get off the beaten path and sort of out into, especially into a like legit designated wilderness area, but like large outdoor spaces that have very few people. And go camping and hiking. Those are my preferred places to visit and vacation. Question number 13, what do you do for fun? I do booktube. Basically, I read books and then I talk about them. Emphasis on the reading books because, like this past month when I've had crazy stuff going on in my personal life, booktube was what I let slide, but I did not stop reading books. So you'll hear more about those in other videos. And then, yeah, I also like to get outside and go hiking as much as possible with family and friends. And I do like to play board games, but I don't have a lot of local friends right now to do that with. Question number 14, what are some of your favorite TV shows? So I'm not really a TV person. Like I do watch TV, but as a specific like way to relax and unwind. So I actually tend to not watch TV shows that I think I would really like, because the ones that I tend to think I would really like are ones with a lot of drama or ones that would sort of be more engaging. And usually when I watch TV, I just want something where I can sort of turn my brain off. So like right now, I've been rewatching How I Met Your Mother as like a just relax at the end of the day sort of thing. And so since that's so much of my TV watching, that's what I use TV for. Yeah, it's really hard to think about favorite TV shows. I absolutely loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer when it was new. Now it's hard to rewatch it because there are so many issues that I don't really like as a 30 something person. So yeah, so favorite TV shows is sort of hard. Uh, yeah. Okay, and then question number 15. What is a random fun fact about you? I always hate these types of questions. But I think I'm going to go with a few people who watch this channel know that I'm really into bees and I do bees professionally. But I also really love beetles because beetles are beautiful and beetles are really the most successful, animal life form on the planet because there's that quote, it's like 4 out of every 5 organisms, or maybe it's 3 out of every 5 organisms is a beetle, in terms of their diversity, not their abundance, but their diversity, the sheer number of species. So I just love beetles. I think they should take over the world, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. Okay, so that is my tag. So I'm just going to tag 3 people. These are channels that are fairly new to me. And a couple of them are fairly new to BookTube, or at least they've been around on like the 6-month time frame. So 2 Dannys. We've got Danny from Danny's Day Off, who I will link down below. We've got Danny at, I think her channel name is like What You Do, Danny, maybe it's WYD Danny. So you can see that down below. I really like her channel because when she talks about books, she does like a knit plus book video where she's knitting while she talks about books, and she's really good at knitting, so that's cool. And then finally, Josie Helsel, who's a new booktuber. She only has like 51 subscribers as of making this video, so go check her out. She's doing a lot of the typical booktube content, but I like some of the books that she's been talking about, so I've been enjoying her channel. Okay, this is a long video for me, so I will sign off, but I will be back soon with more content that is directly about books. Thanks. Bye.